The message was never meant for him. It was written with trembling fingers at 2 o'clock on a bright spring afternoon, sent through tear-filled eyes by a woman who had reached the edge of hope. She believed she was sending it to a local charity volunteer whose number she had copied from a flyer. Instead, one single digit was wrong. That tiny mistake carried her plea across the city and landed on the phone of one of the richest men anyone had ever heard of. Neither of them could have imagined that this accidental message would completely rewrite both of their lives. Before we begin this unforgettable story, take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who still believes in kindness, and subscribe to Kindness Hub if you believe that one act of compassion can change a life forever. Your support helps us bring more heartwarming stories to people around the world. The message was painfully simple. It said that she was sorry for bothering a stranger, but she had nowhere else to turn. Her landlord had given her until sunset to pay the overdue rent. Her daughter had not eaten a proper meal in 2 days, and she had already sold everything she owned except a small family photograph. She promised she was not asking for charity forever. She only needed one chance to survive. The man who received that message was named Alaric Vaughan. At 46 years old, he had built a business empire that stretched across several industries. Newspapers admired his intelligence, television hosts praised his success, and investors celebrated every decision he made. Yet when the cameras disappeared, his enormous mansion echoed with silence. Years earlier, he had buried both his parents within months of each other. His marriage had collapsed beneath the weight of endless work, and he had slowly convinced himself that wealth was the closest thing to security life could offer. That afternoon he was preparing for another meeting that would probably earn him another fortune, but the unexpected message froze him in place. He read it once. Then again. Something about its honesty felt impossible to fake. There were no dramatic demands, no emotional manipulation, only exhaustion and quiet desperation. That he stared at the phone for several minutes before replying with a single question, asking whether she was safe. Several long minutes passed before another message appeared. She explained that her name was Maren Ashcroft. She was raising her 7-year-old daughter, Elsie, alone after her husband had died in a construction accident 3 years earlier. Medical bills had consumed every saving they possessed. She worked every temporary job she could find, cleaning homes, serving meals, and sewing clothes at night, but recently a severe fever had kept her from working for nearly 2 weeks. Missing those days had pushed everything beyond recovery. Alaric could have ignored the conversation. Instead, something inside him refused to let go. Rather than sending money immediately, he asked if they could meet in a public cafe that afternoon. Maren hesitated. Every warning she had ever heard about strangers flashed through her mind. Yet she also knew she had reached the point where hope itself felt like a risk worth taking. She arrived wearing neatly repaired clothes that revealed how carefully every thread had been preserved. Little Elsie held her mother's hand tightly, smiling despite the uncertainty, because children often protect their parents with courage they do not fully understand. When Alaric entered the cafe, nobody recognized him beneath his simple clothing. Maren certainly did not. She expected an elderly volunteer, not a calm man with gentle eyes carrying no trace of arrogance. Their conversation unfolded slowly. Maren never exaggerated her hardships. She admitted every mistake she believed she had made. She confessed that accepting help embarrassed her more than hunger itself. Throughout the conversation, Elsie quietly colored pictures on a paper napkin, occasionally glancing toward the adults with innocent curiosity. For the first time in years, Alaric found himself listening instead of calculating that he paid the overdue rent without announcing who he truly was. He arranged enough groceries for several weeks and quietly left before Maren could properly thank him. She believed she had simply met an unusually generous stranger, but that evening, after returning to his empty mansion, Alaric could not stop thinking about them. He realized something uncomfortable. He had spent decades building companies worth billions while never truly seeing the people struggling just beyond the windows of his office towers. The following week he contacted Maren again. This time she insisted on repaying every dollar someday. He smiled softly and told her that repayment could wait until life allowed her to breathe again. Instead of handing her endless money, he asked about her dreams before tragedy interrupted them. She admitted that she had always wanted to own a small neighborhood bakery. Baking had been the one skill her grandmother taught her with endless patience. Even during her hardest days, she found comfort in making bread because it reminded her that warmth could still rise from simple ingredients. Those words planted an idea inside Alaric that he owned several vacant commercial buildings scheduled for future redevelopment. One tiny corner property had remained unused for years because investors considered it too small to matter. To him, it suddenly mattered more than any skyscraper. He renovated the space quietly, purchased professional equipment, and arranged business training without revealing that he was responsible. Through trusted partners he helped Marin apply for a community business program that secretly covered nearly every startup expense. Months passed, the little bakery finally opened beneath the cheerful morning sunlight. Fresh bread drifted through the streets before sunrise each day. Neighbors who had never spoken to one another began gathering there over coffee and warm pastries. Elsie proudly greeted customers before school, her laughter filling every corner. Business grew slowly but honestly. Meanwhile Alaric visited occasionally, always buying the same loaf of bread, always sitting quietly by the window. Eventually Marin discovered his true identity through a newspaper article lying on a nearby table. She stared between the photograph and the man sitting only a few feet away. The realization left her speechless. She asked why someone with everything would spend so much time helping a complete stranger. His answer surprised even himself. He admitted that before receiving her mistaken message, he believed success meant collecting achievements until loneliness no longer mattered. Instead, he had learned that no amount of money could replace the feeling of being needed for something meaningful. Their friendship deepened naturally. Neither expected romance, both carried scars that demanded patience rather than promises. Alaric began funding practical programs instead of glamorous charity galas. He invested in job training, affordable housing initiatives, childcare support, and emergency assistance designed to restore independence rather than create dependence. Employees who once feared him gradually discovered a leader who listened. Communities that had viewed him as another distant billionaire started seeing someone willing to walk their streets without cameras following behind. Marin continued refusing special treatment. She expanded the bakery one careful step at a time, hiring single parents, older workers overlooked by employers, and young people needing their first opportunity. The bakery became more than a business. It became a place where broken confidence slowly returned. Years later journalists tried to identify the exact moment Alaric Vaughan changed from a cold businessman into one of the country's most respected humanitarians. They searched through speeches, business deals, and financial reports. None of them realized the answer had begun with one accidental text message sent by a frightened mother who believed nobody would ever read her words. Sometimes history does not begin with grand announcements, sometimes it begins with one wrong number. On the anniversary of the bakery's opening, the entire neighborhood gathered outside beneath bright blue skies. Children laughed between colorful decorations while neighbors shared fresh bread at long outdoor tables. Elsie, now a confident teenager, thanked everyone for believing in her mother when life seemed impossible. Marin looked toward Alaric standing quietly among the crowd. Neither needed grand speeches. They understood that some miracles arrive disguised as ordinary mistakes. If this story touched your heart even a little, please write, "Kindness still exists," in the comments. We'd love to know where you're watching from and what part of this story moved you the most. As the celebration ended and the afternoon sun bathed the little bakery in golden light, Marin reflected on how close she had come to giving up. Had she checked that phone number one more time, none of this would have happened. The wrong message had become the right miracle. It had rescued not only a struggling mother and her child but also a lonely man whose fortune had never been able to purchase happiness. Before you leave, please like this video, comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Kindness Hub. Every interaction helps these stories of compassion reach another heart that may be waiting for its own unexpected miracle, because sometimes the smallest mistake becomes life's greatest blessing, and the message you never meant to send might become the answer someone else has been waiting to receive.